Okay, so for this first problem, what I always say is let's break this into two shapes. So let's do take one at a time. So first let's start with our rectangle, and we're finding the area. So we know the area of a rectangle is length times width. So our length of our rectangle would be 13 and our width would be 8. So the area of the rectangle is 104, and remember it's always squared inches or squared feet when it's area. Now we can figure out the area of the triangle, and the way that I always say the area of a triangle, instead of 1/2 times base times height, I'll just say base times height divided by 2. That's the same thing as taking a half of something is the same as dividing by 2. Well, first of all, we know that the height is 4. That's how tall it is. But the base, we have to kind of figure out here. Well, we know if this side of the rectangle is 8, then this side is 8. So from here to here is 8. And we know that these are the same, so that has to be 3. So basically, if we take our triangle over here, we know the height is 4. And we know that 3 plus 8 plus 3 would be 14. So the base, which is the bottom, if I wanted to sit it up on the bottom would be 14. It's where that right angle, it always touches the bottom. So 14 times 4 is 56, and 56 divided by 2 would be 28. So now we need to add our area of our triangle. Oh, and I forgot to put my square inches, and the area of the rectangle. So if we added those two together, 104 plus 28, our final answer would be 132 square inches. And then we are done with this stupid problem. Okay, for this one, first we're going to find the area of, I guess that would be like a parallelogram. So we need to figure out, and we have a triangle. Let's do the area of the parallelogram, or whatever that is. A little rectangle looking thing. This thing. So we just do the base and the height. So how tall it is. So we know the base, the bottom of it is 10, and the height is 23. So the area of that would be 230 square meters. So there's one. And then we have to find the area of that triangle, which is your 1/2 base times height, or base times height divided by 2. So for your triangle, you have basically two numbers to work with here. You have the 24 and you have the 7. And really doesn't matter which one you put for what. It's just 7 times 24 divided by 2. So that would be 168 divided by 2. So the area of the triangle is 84 square meters. So now we take the area of the triangle and the area of the parallelogram or rectangle or whatever you want to call it. if you add those two together, you would get 314 square meters, and that would be the answer to this ridiculous problem. Alright, so I would start this one with the square because this is the easiest to remember. So the area of a square is side times side, which is side squared, side times side. So 9 times 9, or 9 squared, would be 81 square centimeters. Please don't forget to put your unit of measurement because she will probably count off. So for your now you have like a half of a circle. So remember the formula for a circle is pi r squared. Pi r squared. But we have half of a circle. So whatever we get, we need to take half of it and divide it by 2. So we know that we're going to use, she wants you to use 3.4 for pi. And we know that the whole length of the circle is the diameter, which is, the diameter is going to be 9. We don't want the diameter, we want the radius. So to get the radius is always half of the diameter. So to get the radius, you're going to take 9 and you're going to divide it by 2. So always remember the radius is half of the diameter. So your radius is 4.5. So we're going to put 4.5 for r, and we're going to square it. And whatever we get, we're going to divide by 2. And I hope that y'all can use a calculator. So when you do 3.14 times 4.5 times 4.5 and divide it by 2, you will get a long decimal. So she rounded to the 10th place, so 31.8 square centimeters. So remember, we have to add these two numbers up to find the area of both shapes. So 81 plus 31.8. So the area would equal, what is that? 112? Yeah, 0.8 square centimeters. Now let's review what we just did here. First, figure out what your shapes are. You have a square and you have half of a circle. Remember, your formula for a square is side times side. So we did 9 times 9 and we got 81. Then we had to find the area of a circle. But remember, we only have half of a circle here, so we have to divide that by 2. So we know pi is 3.14, but we had to figure out the radius. Now we see the diameter, the entire length of the circle, the entire length of the center of the circle is 9. When you want to find the area, you need the radius. So the radius is half the diameter. So I had to divide the diameter by 2. That's how I got the radius. Now, when I take 3.14 and multiply it times 4.5 squared and divide it by 2, I got 31.8. Then I have to add those two together because I need the area of the entire figure. So when I added those two together, I got 112.8 square centimeters. That is a lot of steps, so you really have to know your formulas, and a lot of students get confused on the radius because they forget what to do if they have the diameter. If you have the diameter and you need the radius, remember the radius is smaller, so you have to divide it by 2.